Hello, Trev here. I'm just going to do a little video on repairs. So I've got a couple of guitars and a ukulele which have been broken at various different points with students or at schools, and I just wanted to show you how to repair the various different parts that are most common to go wrong. So in a group of year twos, this ukulele sadly got dropped and came apart. So to fix it, we needed to kind of glue the parts back together. So I found this Gorilla wood glue seems to be the best at doing sort of wooden repairs, and fairly straightforward to use. You kind of glue it and then sort of leave it for 24 hours. You can see I put some tape around the ukulele just to hold it in place while the glue's drying. So, okay, so it's been drying for 24 hours. I just want to see if it's sort of held. I'm going to take the tape off and see how it's doing. And then I'm wondering whether to leave a bit of the tape on, in fact, just as extra protection, but now let's take it off. Okay, so one of the things with repairs at school is often the kids will sort of notice that it's different. So to make it sort of look the same as well as being repaired, I like the glue's sort of dried pretty much so you can't see it, and that looks pretty good. I've left the strings on because there was no problem with the strings. We have got the saddle at the back near the bridge has come out, so I'll just go and find that. The nut was fine. Okay, so the saddle goes in that little groove there and is sort of like what props the ukulele strings up to get their kind of their height above their action above the fretboard. And it goes into the nut, so the nut was fine. These nuts are actually glued on, but I did have another guitar repair, which I'll show you in a minute, where the nut came off because that was damaged. So I'll just restring this ukulele using the strings that were already on it. I've done a video on restringing a kind of classical and acoustic guitar. Restringing a ukulele is much the same, actually, so you kind of thread the strings on and kind of tie them this end and then thread them round. Just make sure you go kind of round once before you tighten it up so it has a bit of kind of something to grip onto. If you go straight through and then turn it, it tends to not really have very much to hang on to. Last string, because these strings didn't need replacing, I've just used the ones that were there already. They're a little bit kind of curled already, so they're already kind of used to being at tension, but the ends are a little bit fiddly, more fiddly than the ones that have kind of come straight from a packet. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten these strings to get a bit more tension. I'm going to use my tuning sort of tuner device to do that quickly, but you can kind of just do it yourself. It's fine. I know it looks like I'm whizzing around with it, which I am, but I'm also feeling if there's any sort of problem with the tension. So I could feel that there's when it's getting sort of tight, and then I slow down. Okay, and I'm not worried too much about these because it's lasted a while. Okay, so it's just been re-glued and it's fine, but I would also just leave it a bit longer just before I sort of tune it right up, sort of to check that the tension is okay with it. Just give it a little bit more time. It looks good. You could also put a bit more glue around sort of the join if that's helpful, or like I said, I could have left a bit of tape on where the break is, but that should hopefully hold, which is great, really, just from, like, you know, gluing, and look like quite a significant break. But it's quite common. That's where the join from the fretboard to the body is quite a common place for it to happen. Okay, so the ukulele seems to have held pretty well, so we'll tighten it up now. I did tune it a little bit last night, but so you can see that that's pretty much holding its tune already. Like I say, so I tuned it sort of to roughly at pitch, sort of end of last night, and then left it, and then kind of like I did in the other video, sort of a bit of playing, sort of stretching the string, and then retuning. Quite a common place for it to break. I was ready to go back to school. Okay, I've not really got many electrical guitar repairs this time, but so it's worth occasionally just checking the machine heads just to see if any of them wobble, and if they do, then it could be fairly simple, just sort of tightening them up with a screwdriver. You can see that one of these screws for my strap seems to be coming undone. You can see the strap is attached sort of in two places, and just a simple tightening of a screw. So another student of mine sort of, let me just put that aside, damaged their nut. It was actually probably from dropping it. You can see this is the nut where the strings go, and I've taken the strings off, but I've ordered another nut because that's a specific thing, and I'll leave these strings on because they're fairly new anyway. Their saddle is pretty good, and then we can kind of put the new nut on there and then just sort of tighten it all up. I ordered another one. It was quite specific to get, so I'm just going to open it and see if I've got the right one. Hopefully I have. Okay, so from Guitar Repair Shop, they had a big selection. So I've ordered a nut before and kind of got the wrong one. Let's see if I can just get this one out. Looks about right. So it looks the right size. So I did measure it, and they only had black, which is fine. I'm sure he won't mind. But is it the right size? It looks, yeah, you can see it looks pretty good. So hopefully it'll fit. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. Yeah, I'll put a link to the company. I thought they were really good at sort of giving the specific measurements, and depending on your type of guitar, it might be different. The nut, so the nut doesn't get glued in. Some instruments have it glued in, but I really prefer it when it's not glued in and it's just the actual tension of the strings holding it in place. So I'll just put it back on using these strings. So there's nothing wrong with his strings, so I've just loosened them, and see if I can get them back in the right order. They need to go over there. A little bit fiddly, but I think that seemed more sensible than giving the whole new set of strings. And so he has put his strings on a little bit funny, but that's fine. That one's to go to there. That one's to go to there, and I think that's a pretty good job. I'm really pleased with that. Really pleased with this company. So I will use them again for guitar bits. They've obviously got a good selection of bridges, but it looks from here they've got other bits. So the tuners, I might well buy some tuners for another guitar, and I imagine it's going to be a similar thing. So yeah, really recommend them. Seems to work. Like I say, when you're tuning guitars after repairs, just be kind of careful and not to over tighten them too quickly. That looks good. I'm really pleased, really pleased with that. So here we have the guitar where the bridge has sort of come off, and this was to do with sort of tuning. So I think it's an old sort of school guitar, but I think sort of people were kind of possibly tuning it too much, too tight, and it kind of ripped off. Tends to be when people don't understand what they're doing with tuning. wasn't a student of mine actually, so this was already broken before I came to the school. But just be careful when you're tuning that you know that it's the correct peg, and if anything feels too tight, then yeah, do make sure you know what you're doing and you know you're on the right string. So these strings were really old, so I'm going to now restring this guitar. I have done a video on restringing guitars before, so I'll just fast forward this video up. Okay, so I've noticed that I actually put this on the wrong way round. So it might have even been on the wrong way round before, but I'm just prizing this off, and then you can see sort of the glue. So I need to do that again, which is absolutely fine. So this part, you can kind of see that you've got the kind of the saddle, and the kind of the groove will have to be facing that way for the string to have its sort of proper kind of little kind of raised action above it. If you don't have that, there's no place for the saddle to fit, and it'll just kind of go straight on. So I've just turned that round. A little bit annoying, but that's part of the repair, I guess. And I'll just show you a little bit again with the Gorilla Glue. So so I've put the Gorilla Glue just on the surface that I'm gluing, and on the part that I'm gluing to the surface. You can be a little bit more sort of take your time with it a bit, but I tend to find it's pretty amazing stuff really. So you can just sort of get on with it really, and make sure it's the right way around this time. So it will be this way round. Press it nicely into place. You can see the glue coming out. I'll put a bit of tape on it again, and then leave that for another day, which is absolutely fine. Okay, so I've just taped this guitar ready to kind of keep the glue in place, and I think as I've got the strings all set up, I'm going to very loosely restring it, but I'm not going to put any kind of tension on there, and then leave it 24 hours for the glue to dry. So making sure that that's nicely taped down, I'm going to do the restringing. Okay, so I'm just attaching the last string, and like I said, I've done a video on this restringing a kind of an acoustic nylon string classical guitar, so you can have a little look at that. Okay, so the top strings are a little bit tricky because they often sort of come unraveled sort of a bit easier, and it doesn't keep its pitch quite so well. So what I've taken to doing is to sort of loop it through and sort of make a little loop and then kind of go back on it. But because I'm not tightening this guitar today, you can just sort of see it in principle, but it's a little bit fiddly, but it's worth perhaps doing. There's a couple of other ways of doing this, sort of going round and round the hole. Sometimes works. I don't think you can see that as well as in my other video. So you can see these strings aren't at tension at all because I'm waiting for this to dry. I also noticed there's sort of one of the tuning pegs missing at the top. So you could buy another tuning peg. I've not actually ordered one, so at the moment I'll just show you how to tune that with just general pliers. In fact, it looks like I might be able to even do that with my fingers, so it's not too tight. But obviously, for sort of neatness and completion, you might want to get another sort of tuning peg at the top. Okay, so just to put the saddle back, so this actually fell out, and you can kind of sometimes see when it falls out, sort of which direction it was on. This looks pretty symmetrical, if I'm honest, so I don't know that there's much difference in terms of which way round you put it on. Obviously don't drop it. You can see it's a little bit curved at both edges, and sometimes it's a little bit sort of bigger on one side. You can soon sort of see. You could try it sort of both way rounds just to see. But the saddle here and the nut are kind of what holds the guitar up. They're kind of almost like the frets for in between the full length of the string, and then obviously when you put your finger on a fret, it'll shorten it, and then it'll kind of cut itself off at that bit of metal. But really important that you've got the saddle and the nut to hold the strings in place. Okay, so I was a little bit annoyed with myself for putting the bridge on the wrong way round. I've put the saddle back on, and it's spent 24 hours now getting dry. Okay, so let's take this tape off. Okay, so there's a little bit of glue residue there, but all of the glue that's holding it is dried through. So I put all these strings on extremely loosely, so if we have a little go with our tuning device again, our little sort of plastic winder. Okay, so because the G string doesn't have a sort of a tuning peg head on it, I'm just going to clamp it here and then turn it. So just make sure it's going the right way. And it'll just be a case, a little bit more fiddly, obviously. You see how much quicker it is with me winding this. Okay, let's see. So far so good. Okay. So doesn't like being held at tension. Okay, so I'll try that again, and I'll see if, did I not leave it gluing properly for long enough, or was it something else? Okay. So let's try that for a third time. So this guitar is not being my friend at all. This time I think I'm going to leave it for a good few days rather than just one day. And I've got the strings roughly attached though, so that's a good thing. I can always do the other end afterwards. That should hopefully be fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna sort of see if I can kind of clean the old glue a little bit, or sort of at least sort of make it a little bit more uniform, and then leave it for longer, I think is probably the key. Probably didn't do this very well last time because I didn't clean my failed attempt. Okay, that's looking better. Use a spoon, actually the back of a spoon, just to see if I can get some of this sort of excess glue off. And then something a little bit sort of abrasive, just to... Okay, so that's pretty good. And let's just have a look at this wooden bit. So the bridge, see if I can clean it, and then so you can see there's quite a bit of old glue from the last repair, but probably, to be fair, probably the one before that as well, or where it's come off. So I didn't really prepare this very well last time. Hopefully I can do a better job this time. So I've actually got a bit of sandpaper as well, just to sort of roughen the edge. And yeah, that might sort of spoil the finish a little bit, but hopefully it'll make the glue stick better. And also as best I can on this, just to get a little bit of grip, and then something for the glue to attach on. Okay, so just give it a final wipe and then a dry, and then we'll have a go. This is the third go at fixing this guitar, but I hope it's worth it in the end. Okay, so this is this way round. I'm a bit scared about getting it the right way round. Okay, and I don't think there's any problem with how I applied the glue, but I will be a little bit more delicate in that sense as well. And a thin layer on both sides. Corners. Making sure it's the right way round. Just put it in place. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Give it a good squidge. And then I'll just go and get some tape. See if I can tape it down. I might tape it a little bit harder as well. Okay, so I'm going to tape it a little bit more than last time. Probably just take some excess glue seeping out the edge. So don't particularly need to do that, it does dry see-through. So let's make sure we've got a really tight I think this time I'm going to put one in the middle as well, and possibly even one along the... There we go. Yeah. The length, does it need that? Possibly doesn't need this, but I'm going to put it on anyway. So. Now we wait again for it to dry. Okay, and I've got another guitar from a different school. So I do actually remember putting sort of some new strings on this a while ago, but then figuring out that one of the machine heads is completely broken, and you can see the mechanism isn't really there, so there's no case of doing it with a spanner at all, or doing it with a pair of pliers or anything. It's sort of completely broken off. But I will try and use this company and buy something, see if I can buy another machine head and see if that's easy to fit. Okay, so we've got a couple of guitars where the machine heads have kind of come off. This is from another school, and kind of the rest of the guitar looks pretty good. It's quite old guitar, but you've got kind of one complete sort of tuning peg missing. So I did order another one of these. I just want to show you the difference between this and the other guitar, which this has been on a while now, so I'm hoping that this is actually fixed, but I won't restring it because I've ordered another part for this machine head. But you can see the difference. This has sort of quite thick sort of, I don't know the name of all the parts unfortunately, but the kind of bit between where the string goes through, sort of quite thick there. And not that it really matters the design of the peg, but kind of a more kind of flowery sort of design. But the thickness is very different to the guitar that I'm going to repair now. If you look here, you've got a kind of a very thin sort of metal rod between it, and like I say, a kind of a flat head, but that doesn't particularly bother me other than the aesthetics of it. So I ordered on the internet some spare parts. Let's see what we've got. So they come in sort of a row of three pegs. They seem pretty good, and also comes with some screws. I've got two sets. I've got a spare set because only one was broken. Comes with some screws and some little sort of Don't know what they are, little kind of plastic washers. I'll see where they fit. And yeah, let's put them neatly so I don't drop them. And then let's get on with actually taking the old ones off. So I've got a screwdriver and I'm hoping it's fairly straightforward. So first of all, I want to take the strings off. So I did restring this guitar before noticing. It's quite a basic error not noticing that one of the pegs is not there, but I think I've done it a couple of times where you sort of restring the guitar in all faith that it's gonna work, but it's always worth checking if you come across lots of guitars that have been damaged. Okay, those strings were well knotted on. So I've never actually done this before, but I'm assuming it's just a case of simply unscrewing the machine heads and hopefully it'll just sort of slot out. So yeah, you have to replace the whole set. You can't just replace one. The other guitar just needs the little machine head, sort of the plastic bit. So they're a bit more wobbly now. Let's see, that seems to come out. There's the dropped screw. So there we go. So you see that just pulls straight out, and the bit that's missing is on this. So at some point we can see that this has come unattached, and because the peg and the screw kind of came off, it's just fallen in, so that has lost all its use. I'm not really sure. Does that look the same? It looks pretty similar, if not identical. I'm not really sure. That's pretty good. There's one thing about it that I don't know, which is the hole, and the hole is really close to the edge, so I don't know that this is actually gonna work. It's sort of like the hole is right at the edge, which is a little bit of a shame, but we can kind of do our best and see. Let's see if this one fits. I'm not really sure that I'm going to use these plastic sort of washer things. I don't think they're very useful at all. I'm going to screw it back in. You can see the holes are really close to the edge, so I'm not really sure how that is supposed to work, but everything else seems to be lining up, and I'm pretty sure I can make it a functional guitar. But in terms of when you restring the guitar, that's going to be a little bit sort of fiddly every time, because you're not finding the middle of that sort of metal bit. You're let me see if I can show you. You're finding a hole that's sort of really near the edge. Really near the edge. In fact, I'll do this quickly and then I'll see if I can restring it. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about those two middle holes. You could, if you were particular about the guitar, that seems pretty sturdy to me, but as this is such an old guitar, I just want to see if it'll actually restring, and I'll be very happy if I can make it usable for a kid or for the school. So although that looks like it fits fairly well, the holes, I really don't think that's going to be a viable solution. So what I'm going to try and do is take one of the tuning pegs from this 3 set and see if I can put it on the broken one of that. So replace just one of them. So these weren't sort of overly cheap, but you know, £5 or something for a set. I did look around, some of them were £10. You couldn't buy individual ones, and I'm not even sure that I know how to. Let's see if I can just unscrew that. So if I unscrew, I'm still going to have the problem though, aren't I, with this one, which is a real shame. Okay, so now I've got a similar thing on this one. I can put this back in. That's slightly different as well. Oh, nightmare. You can see slightly different size. So I've got two sort of not quite. So it is a bit of a faff getting, you know, replacing your machine heads. Can that fit in? Doesn't look like it will. It really doesn't look like it will. Which probably means it's ever so slightly different make. But with old guitars, I mean, you don't really... See this, looking at that, has two holes. The hole for the inside and the hole for the outside. Now that is an idea. Could I replace... Could I replace the two holes for the one holes and use the rest of the mechanisms? I think that is what I'm going to have to do. So this is the new... No, that's not right. Yes. Yes, the two holes. So I take away... I knew there was going to be a bit of this, but it was far more than I thought. So if I totally destruct this and use all of the two holes mechanisms, then I can use that to have a middle hole so I can actually restring the guitar. So it's a lot of work. This is a lot of work really for saving a very, very old battered guitar. But okay, so although I've not got the exact screw from basically the old guitar for the mechanism of the old two hole tuning bar, I guess it's called, the newer screw is sort of good enough. So you can see the screw is slightly short. It sort of tightens enough, but not to make it tight. It's just to hold it enough for a quick test. So if I sort of screw it in, let's just see how much I can get. It's not ideal, but it's gonna have to do. So if we put this back in fact, once it's in, you can kind of see it sort of holds in place anyway, and you can kind of screw it from here. Basically, it still turns, and you have to sort of poke it in a little bit. I might be able to even screw it more. It should hold, basically. So not ideal, doesn't make me feel very good that it's not a perfect fix, but hopefully it's a fix that's sufficient. And like I say, these pegs that have the hole right there, this there seem a bit useless because that's in the actual wood of the guitar. So I don't know how that would ever work, but I can't imagine it. But let's see. Okay, see if we can fix this guitar. It's not perfect, but it does seem to turn, and it does seem to hold, and it's not going to fall out. So that is good enough. Right, let's reattach these strings. So we've got our G string. The nut needs replacing on this as well. God, this is this is a nightmare. This guitar is absolutely a nightmare. Right, so I need a little bit of glue for that because it's got the other bit of the nut on, and I think that'll hopefully fix what you can't even tell. It's like losing a tooth. Look at that. There we are. I'll go on there. And in fact, that looks pretty sturdy. I think I'm going to put it on and then put a bit of tape on it. Okay, give us a sec. Okay, so that would actually probably, to be fair, stay in place with the pressure of the string. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue, but actually, if I don't drop it, it's not actually quite as problematic as it might seem. So let's get the little blob of glue. So I've just put a bit of glue. It's not quite as problematic as it seems, in fact, this little bit of nut, because as long as I put it in the right way round, that way round, because it's sort of it's holding quite well even without any glue. So I think that should be pretty solid, and with the pressure of the string, so that the string will be pushing it towards the head, the wood of the head of the guitar. So it's not going to be too bad, in fact, hopefully, touch wood. And let's just clean it a little bit. Okay, and here we have the E string. You do kind of go on journeys with guitars. I mean, although I've never used this guitar, this is a school guitar. It's been there for years, probably, as a broken guitar. In fact, I've been at that school for years and I've seen this guitar at the side. I tried to restring it because I thought, oh, you know, I'll bring it back to life. And that's when I found out there was some problems with it, and then it was just left and left and left, which is really sad. But, you know, actually having spent all this time with this guitar, so I've probably spent about an hour with it now, yeah, you kind of grow fond of it. And, you know, this has been loved by hopefully quite a few people in the past. It's been played, it's got its own story. Right, let's see. That's okay. Let's see if we can give this a bit of a tune. So, okay, so it really does not like this at all. So I'm going to actually unscrew it. Let's take the string off. In fact, I need to take that string off. And see if I can, without redoing all of my work again, actually put one of those ridiculous little pipes in with one hole. And what will have to happen is that it'll have to, it just doesn't get past there, yeah. It'll have to be screwed in. Whoever puts the string in will have to put the string in sort of at the same time as the nut. It's very fiddly. It means that restringing it becomes harder, which in turn means that the life of it's going to be not very good. But anyway, we will see. So, so I am forced reluctantly to use one of these bars that has, there we go, that's it, it has only one hole in it. I mean, it could be, and it just makes restringing such a problem, but it could be that maybe the design is that you put the string on before before the kind of the cog. I can't really see that. It's stuck. So I do have to take the others off. It's such a nightmare. So what do I want to do? I want to put the new one in, replace the middle sort of bar with, I'm going to have to take the whole thing out, aren't I? It doesn't work. So annoying. Oh, maybe undo this string actually, because that one's a little bit easier to put on. It is not my day. Come on. So yeah, the string, the important string is the B string to be threaded in this horrible hidden hole before anything else happens. So it's sort of like, oh right, you have to unscrew it, put this through the hole, right, goodness me. Can't even think what I'm doing now. So that's the new, yeah, new one with the new, yes, the new screw. So this was the problem, was I had sort of an old machine head. No, don't want that one. I want that one, I think. There we go. And this should fit snug, really lovely, hopefully. And lo and behold, it does. So that it should be a lot easier than this, but so I don't know if it's just because I've not really done it before. That glue is tacky. I have to remember that glue's there. Right, what are we doing? Let's do the G string. Let's start again. It's pretty much there. What's interesting is that although there was a lot of tightness, once it had kind of got past it and settled a little bit, it did become sort of looser again. So now to turn the peg is not that tricky, which is a little bit, it must have got caught somewhere, or, you know, that pulling, to be aware of that. So now that E is definitely not that tense. The B might well slip because I didn't manage to put a knot in it, but we will see. Okay, so just going to tune up this guitar. Seems to be holding its tune not too bad. That's sort of as I would expect after a day, so that's almost ready to go to another student. I also got the different connectors for this guitar. Looks like a right mess, but yeah. So I tried to take this off, but it's a very different mechanism. So I've ordered yet another guitar part. So it's a bit of a learning experience for me. Sometimes it's taking a lot longer than I thought. So these look pretty similar. Let's just have a little look if we can open it up. And so some little screws, slightly different design, but it looks pretty good. So let's see if we can unscrew this mechanism here. Okay, so I had put the strings sort of half on, but I'm going to have to undo that. Okay, let's see how we go. I might even take all of the strings off, I think, because it's not really going to work, I don't think. And just redo it. Like I say, it's been a bit fiddly, really. It looks like that is all sort of attached, which is actually quite good. I mean, I don't know that these sort of little tuning bits, if you could actually get one to stick on the top there, that would be really good. But the fact that they're all attached means hopefully this will just plop in, and that seems to have worked. The one thing that's a little bit tricky, let's check I've got the right one, is sort of which way round. So I'd quite like that to be at the top. So maybe that one and that way round. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm pleased with that. So that's going to be a brand new mechanism. There's no reason to think that that won't work. The screw holes don't always line up, which is very, very annoying actually, because you've got to sort of almost carve your own new hole, but it seems like there's at least one that lines up. So we'll do that one first. So if you remember, this came off a couple of times. It's now been a good few days ordering parts for different reasons. So now take that off. That's definitely had a long time to dry. And we will see if we can actually restring this guitar and then sort of tune it up. Okay, so if you ever have strings that have come out of the pack for whatever reason, you don't know which one's which, if you can't physically see which is thinner out of 2 strings. Sorry, I'm just going up to the wrong camera. You can actually do it by kind of just pushing it together and feeling which feels sort of tighter, and the tighter one tends to be the thicker one. So you can kind of push together, and then I know that this is the one that I want next. Like I say, when tuning new strings, you are using a combination of your knowledge with your, kind of the tension of the strings. So if it's still sort of feeling very elastic like that one, I can kind of feel that. I don't necessarily have to use my ears so much. And slow down when it gets near the pitch. That seems to be holding better, so I'm pleased to say that that's another complete guitar. Not in tune, but that'll take a couple of days. I like this sort of guitar as a classical guitar much better. The machine heads seem to be a lot more sturdy. I wasn't that keen on this sort of other make of guitar where you've got the kind of thinner sort of thinner metal, and like you saw, the kind of like the hole at the side. That's sort of a bit confusing for me how that kind of works. But those guitars are all done, and they'll need to settle. You might find that taking guitars to guitar shops, music shops, are wonderful places. They can either do repairs for you or recommend someone to do repairs. That might be the correct way to go if it's a more problematic kind of repair. So hopefully this video shows you some of the more common repairs you might come across. And like I say, a guitar shop is a wonderful place. They can probably do repairs or recommend someone to do it. So hopefully this video kind of informs you a little bit as to whether you want to have a go yourself doing a repair, or maybe you want to give it to someone who knows what they're doing. Please do click subscribe for more content, and hopefully see you in the next video. Bye bye.